What the fuck? Yeah, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Georgia versus Auburn this weekend. Georgia's a 24-point favorite at home over Auburn. I'm obviously not home. I don't know when I'll be able to get back home. I know you're mad about the "your season is over" video. As soon as I'm able to get back home and do it, I'll do it. There's just nothing I can do. All I can do is talk into the cell phone here. So that's what we're going to do. So let me know in the comments down below. What do you want to hear me talk about something? Tell me, and I'll make a 10-minute, 20-minute video about whatever that something is and upload. Y'all tell me what you want to see. Do you want me to just talk about this weekend's upcoming games? Do you want me to talk about something from last weekend? You want me to do? All right, I did a 20-minute video. Yeah, Georgia's terrible. Bama owns them. Carson Beck sucks. Kirby sucks. Georgia will be lucky to make a bowl game. I made that video Sunday morning. You want me to do that again? Games you want me to talk about? Is there some kind of story out there in the world of college football you want to hear me talk about? Let me know. I'm surrounded. Look at the damn taters. Look at it. What in the hell? Why does Pete need a walking stick? Oh, I know why he needs a walking stick. Because his birthday is coming up and he's in his mid-40s. Shout out to Pete for letting me, not just me, but me, the lady, her 2 kids, our dog, we're all here. They basically let us move in here. So shout out to them, lifesavers. Don't know when I'll be able to get back home. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about Georgia Auburn. You let me know in the comments down below what else you want to hear me talk about, and I'll be happy to come back up to the Tater Studio here and talk about it for you. But Georgia versus Auburn. Georgia's favored by 24. Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. All trolling or kidding aside, I think Georgia's still a really good team. They got completely overwhelmed in that first half against Bama. The game was basically over at the end of the first quarter. I talked about this for 20 minutes on Sunday. Congratulations to Georgia, I guess, for not giving up. Congratulations to Bama for whipping Georgia's ass and all of that. But I still think Georgia's a way better team than an Auburn, for example, or Mississippi State, who they play, or Florida, or Georgia Tech. Now, the Ole Miss game, the Texas game, the Tennessee game, those were difficult games before Georgia lost to Bama this past weekend, and they're still difficult games. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. Do I suddenly think now that that's an easy win for Georgia? No, I don't. I think Ole Miss is a good team. That was a bad loss for them. Real bad loss for Ole Miss. At home, they lost to Kentucky. So that's obviously way worse. Losing at home to Kentucky, obviously way worse than, in Georgia's case, winning on the road at Kentucky by 1. But that's still a dangerous game. Ole Miss is still a good team. They got caught and Kentucky beat them. But they're still a good team. Georgia's still a good team that got whipped by Bama. And Auburn's not very good at all. They've got major quarterback issues going back and forth between Peyton and Thorne and the NPC, Hank Brown. Neither one of them are any good. They're turnover machines. All they do is lose. They lost to, if there's a team in the SEC with a quarterback situation anywhere close to being as bad as Auburn's, it's Oklahoma's. And Oklahoma came into Auburn and beat them last weekend in a game that was honestly hard to watch because two bad offenses. So I do think Georgia's going to beat Auburn this weekend. The game was close last year. That's true. That game was on the road in Auburn. This one's in Athens. That's obviously a benefit for Georgia to play at home instead of having to play on the road at Auburn, which I'll continue to argue with y'all about it until the day I die. At Auburn is a tough place to play. So it's obviously a benefit for Georgia to have that game at home this week. 24-point favorite, though. Again, that's a big number. It doesn't surprise me. I still think Georgia's good and Auburn's bad. The betting angle on this game, though, here's what I'll tell you about the betting angle. When it gets closer to Saturday, they will put out a first half line for the game. Unless you're a degenerate gambler, you don't care about this part of the video, and I get it. So maybe you go, Georgia's a 24-point favorite. There's no way I'm laying 24 points with Georgia. They suck. Okay, fair enough. There will be a first half line that comes out here in a couple of days. It is usually about half of what the full game line is. So this game line, Georgia minus 24. So the first half line, when it comes out, is going to be something around Georgia minus 13, Georgia minus 13 and a half, Georgia minus 14. Take Auburn in the first half. Take Auburn plus 14 if you can get that in the first half. Georgia sucks in the first half, period. They didn't show up in the first half against Clemson. They didn't show up in the first half against Kentucky. They didn't show up in the first half against Bama. Could this be the week where Georgia finally comes out and decides to actually play football in the first half of a game? It could be. But if you watched the Lunch Money show last night, I said the same thing. Eventually, you get far enough into a season, you just kind of have to believe that the teams are who they've been showing you they are. So I could be wrong about the first half, and maybe Georgia's up 4 touchdowns at halftime, like Alabama was up on Georgia by 4 touchdowns at halftime. But I'll take Georgia to win the game outright. But if I was going to bet this game, which I haven't bet this game yet, I like Auburn plus, especially if you can get it at 14. If you can get Auburn plus 14 in the first half, I mean, you almost have to take it, as bad as Georgia's been in the first halves of these games. There's also a possibility that even if Georgia didn't have recurring first half issues, it's possible that they would have a first half issue in this game. They're coming off their biggest game of the year so far, on the road at Alabama, which was a devastating loss for all the reasons we've already talked about. They're getting battered in the media, from Kirby down to Carson, the defense not tackling in the first, all of that. And this is, it's a rivalry game. Georgia versus Auburn is a rivalry game, so you hope Georgia can get up for this thing. But it's also possible they have a little bit of a letdown coming off of a big emotional game last week on the road. I don't necessarily expect that to happen. I kind of expect the Georgia team we've seen all year to show up on Saturday, which is a team that will struggle in the first half and then win by 3 or 4 touchdowns over a bad Auburn team in the second half. We'll see. But I don't know that I would bet Georgia minus 24 in this one, because it's just, I don't know. I don't know, but Auburn's not, the whole thing with the quarterback, I feel like every single time I've talked about Auburn in the last year and a half, I've said the same thing. But I say it because I think it's true. They have, until Hugh Freeze gets a quarterback in there that can run his system effectively, Auburn's just not going to be a very good team. It doesn't really matter how much they improve through recruiting or portal along the offensive line or defensive lines or secondary or skill positions. Like, you got the Cam Coleman kid. Until he gets a quarterback in there that can run his system, it's not going to make that big of a difference in terms of Auburn's record on the field. Now, like I've said, I understand. They went out and they got a bunch of other pieces and not a quarterback. It still seems to me like Hugh Freeze, the entire time since the day he was hired at Auburn, has been building towards year 3. And I do think Auburn goes out this offseason and spends a lot of money in the portal to bring in a transfer quarterback. Whether that will work out or not, I don't know. But they didn't do that last year. They went out and got everything but a quarterback, basically. I think this year they will go out and get the quarterback for next year. We'll see. Maybe Auburn will be a legitimate competition next year. But this ain't the year for Auburn. They're not very good. And they have to come into Athens and play. This game at 5:30, 6:30. Anyway, it's not a noon game. That's really all that matters. I think the crowd will be into this game. Georgia fans are upset with the loss to Bama, but they'll show up for this one here at home against Auburn. The biggest home game of the year so far for Georgia, right? The Clemson game was neutral site. The Kentucky game was on the road. The Alabama game was on the road. The only home game Georgia's played this year was Tennessee Tech, and no one cares about that game. So I think the crowd will be behind Georgia. I think the crowd will be a factor in this game, and I think Georgia will win comfortably. Would I bet Georgia minus 24 right now? Probably not. If I make a bet on this game, it'll probably be Auburn plus the points in the first half. Georgia could, I don't think Georgia will be losing at halftime, but they were last year. But again, that was at Auburn. Georgia was losing in the fourth quarter against Auburn last year at Auburn. I get it. Different teams, different years, different stadiums this year, home team versus away team. I get all that. So not here to tell you Auburn's going to be beating Georgia at halftime necessarily. But the way Georgia's played all year, if you can get Auburn plus 14 in the first half, that might be something to look at. But anyway, shout out to everybody for all the kind words, messages. I've gotten all of your emails and messages and all that. We're fine. I'm fine. The lady is fine. Our kids are fine. We're all here. The dog is here. My kids are fine. They're with their grandparents who have a permanently installed hardwired propane generator that they've had for a while. So they've got it's like nothing happened over there. They're fine. My house is fine mostly. There's some minor damage. The roof needs to be replaced. Part of the molding along the side of the house was ripped away from the house. We lost one tree in the backyard, but it hit the fence. No, it didn't hit any houses. It just crushed a privacy fence. So we're fine, but there's no power. There's no water. There's no gas stations open. There's no, there's nothing you can do there. So I can't, until I can go back there. These are the types of videos I'll be trying to make this week. Probably won't be any live shows. Like call-in shows or anything like that. I did the Lunch Money show last night with Pete. We did it on his channel. But probably won't do the live shows. Well, definitely not tonight. Tonight's Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. This hurricane came through Thursday night into Friday morning, and it's been a whirlwind for me since then. I was back and forth to Columbia on Saturday and Sunday, and then Sunday night drove here to Charleston, and the Pete's have been lucky enough to put us up here and let us stay here for a few days. And of course, big thanks to them, and thanks for all the messages and kind words in the comments and Twitter DMs and all that. But we're fine. It's a major inconvenience, but we're all fine. So anyway, if there's something you want to hear me ramble about in one of these, walking around and yelling into my cell phone type videos like this, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see what I can do as far as those videos go over the next couple of days. Appreciate you watching. Have a good morning. Click the thumbs up. I'll talk to you again soon.